Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla video. So today, as usual, let's go over the market. The week has of course just officially closed. Pretty wild week for the most part for Tesla, as it usually is for Tesla, let's be honest here. But yeah, as usual, let's go over it, let's talk about it, let's figure it out. If you enjoyed the video, find it useful, helpful, informative, whatever, don't forget to hit that like button. And of course, as usual, this is not financial advice. Make your own decisions, do your own research yourself, because I am not a financial advisor. But let's just jump right into it. Tesla, the market just closing the day down just over 5%, putting us just under $197 compared to the market, a substantial underperformance. SPY actually surprisingly green, and QQQ down only about 0.65%. So definitely an underperformance for Tesla. So we'll see what this actually ends up being. But pretty much exactly what we talked about yesterday. I did talk about how this candle is a pretty bearish candle and how it is a potential top sign for Tesla. And today we saw a bit of harder of a fall than I expected. I did say how I personally thought I didn't think it would drop to under 200 just yet. I actually thought it would come to 200 and then maybe go a little bit sideways up until CPI day, which I keep forgetting if it's 2-0 Wednesday. It's Valentine's Day. It's 2-0 Wednesday. I thought it would go a little sideways up until then, but whatever. It came down to here instead. So it's probably going to go sideways somewhere around this overall area up until CPI day. And then I think from there, we'll get the next move down. However, with that being said, and I said this on yesterday's video, if we ever drop out of this trend box, that's when I personally start getting bearish on the stock, at least short to like maybe medium-ish term. And I do think that's going to absolutely play out. The fact that it fell out is very, very bad. The RSI looks very bearish now. This looks like it's going to trend, or it looks like the trend down has finally begun. And the only way, and there's only a couple things that would make me think otherwise from here. So I'll go over those things first. So first and foremost, if the bulls still want to see more upside and still somehow want to see Tesla go to 220, which I think is extremely unlikely, not impossible, but just not likely whatsoever from this specific situation. I know people are going to be like, oh man, we're Investor Day on March 1st, guys. We're Investor Day March 1st. Again, like I said, TSLA and TESLA, short term, not correlated. Very, very little correlation between the two, for the most part. With that being said, though, if the bulls do somehow want to still see more upside, even though we've had 110% upside already this since the beginning of this year, you would essentially not only want Tesla to recapture 200 as soon as possible, but ideally you want it somehow to get back into this channel, which would essentially be over 210. So not only is a 210 recapture very important in a hold, which it's possible. We'll see. I think it's definitely possible, but you really want to see it go at the very least above 210, if not even higher than that, maybe even as high as 215 to get back into this channel. So the one thing that is possible, and I think that might happen, that might get a lot of people trapped, for the bulls at least, bull traps, is there's a chance that we do something like this and then go back down. There's a chance that we come up to retest the breakdown from this channel, which will pretty much bring us around 210, 215, maybe after CPI day. And that would actually not be completely impossible. CPI comes in, a bit of a rally, everyone thinks it's priced in, phenomenal, everything's good to go. And then I think the market will do essentially a massive bull trap and then absolutely tank. That is absolutely a real possibility. So that's just one thought. But essentially, unless something like this happens and unless I see it go back into this channel, at the very least recapture 200, but ideally go back into this channel, I am net bearish, short to medium-ish term on Tesla. And I believe that this downturn that I've been talking about for a while now, to maybe around the kind of mid-ish 150s, let's say, give or take, I think has begun. I really do. I do think it has finally begun, unless, again, like I said, one of those situations that I just talked about happens to play out. So, again, people are wondering, well, where does this take us? Where can we potentially go from here if the downturn has finally actually happened, right? Well, I talked about this the other day, but to recapture, or to rather to revisit that, we will go ahead and show you guys one more time. This is just a very rough guideline. It's not actually, picture perfect, but on the weekly, you can see the 0.5 sitting somewhere around the 158, or if you go on the daily and you do look at it on the same time frame, roughly from the lows to the highs, you can see the 0.5 again around that 158, all the way down as low as to the 144, which is this gap fill on the daily as well. So that's my main price target. Anywhere between 160 to like 145 is my main price target for this downturn to potentially finish and to potentially have an actual bounce from there. That is what I personally foresee. On top of that, the weekly is definitely looking a little bit suspicious, mainly because it did go into the into 200s, not well into, but more than I expected, honestly, initially. But the fact that it got this straight rejection in this candle like this, not the most bullish looking candle, we'll see, of course, but not the most bullish looking candle, and the fact that it couldn't close the weekly candle in the 200 range is not ideal, right? But however, with that being said, this still kind of puts in my theory of a cup and handle play out to potentially happen, where Tesla essentially couldn't really close going up here makes this a little bit awkward, but you can still technically make an argument that we are setting up a potential cup and handle, something like this, and then we'll make our way down like this, somewhere around to this level, which will essentially just go ahead and make a bull flag like this, kind of zigzag, something like that. And then from there, assuming that, situation or that pattern holds intact, and we come back down to these levels like I talked about, somewhere around the 160 to 145-ish. I really think the 145 is just the most obvious one, but maybe because it's so obvious, that's not going to be where we actually go. Maybe lower, maybe higher. Hard to say for sure for now. But again, that's my personal price range that I'm personally looking at right now, and I'm personally waiting for, right? And then from there, if it plays out and doesn't fall much lower than that, I do believe that the bullish momentum will still more or less be intact, and I think from there you can break out and finally make not new highs overall for the stock yet. That's definitely still into the future. However, I do think that can make us have another massive move upwards and well above what we had over here. Though I do believe that overall, move will take time. It's not going to happen, tomorrow, right? Even like next month. I do believe that something like this, and then going all the way up, like this alone, I think will take like at least like 3 months, in my opinion, if not more. But you never know with this market. This market is very volatile. That's assuming this pattern holds. If this pattern doesn't hold, then we just fall well below this, let's say, gap fill of 144, then that's where things get a little more spooky, right? That's where things can get a little more cautious and scary. So, we'll see how that ends up playing, of course, as well. Now, there is technically, in my opinion, one more trend that the bulls have a little bit of hopium to potentially hold, and that you can absolutely make the argument is this one right here, right? I want to delete this one, but you can absolutely make the argument that this right here is the potential bounce that the bulls can hope for. So I personally wouldn't be surprised if ultimately we pretty much come straight down to around this level and this line right here, more or less, sometime next week, and then somewhere around this, get a bounce, make our way back up a little bit, and then ultimately, in my opinion, go through this line, and that's what's going to really convince the market to bring Tesla back down to somewhere around this level. The bearish sentiment will definitely kick in, and I think that's how we'll get down to that level ultimately, right? And like I said the other day as well, right, this spot that we did reject that, is the perfect place to reject that on the weekly, because again, going from the recent swing high to the recent swing low, we have this rejection happening pretty much exactly at the 0.5, which was around that 208 level, which we did come up to, get rejected around that general level, and got slapped back down, and especially closed under 200, which isn't really ideal. I'll be completely honest. It's not what the bears or the bulls want to see. It's what the bears want to see. But with that being said, I do believe even though we're going to have this downturn coming up to around the mid 100s, if not maybe a little bit lower, I do personally believe that the bulls have regained control potentially of the momentum, at least for the medium term, even after this downtrend. And I think the bulls are still in control even after that. Unless, of course, it goes lower. Then it kind of gets a little more confusing and, suspicious. So we'll see how that actually ends up playing and what that actually ends up being. But as of right now, that's kind of what I'm seeing. You can see the VIX is still breaking out. A little bit suspicious move on the VIX here. Not what you really want to see in a pure breakout. The fact that it got rejected this hard up here is not great for the VIX. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. And that's kind of what I'm, expecting to happen. So again, it doesn't mean that Tesla's just going to straight up plummet straight down from here. It might. You never know with Tesla, of course. It's a very volatile stock. But ultimately, I do believe that the downtrend has begun. And I do believe ultimately we are going to do something like this, go up here and then go back down. Most likely, hopefully, fingers crossed for the bulls at least, find the bottom here, and then from there rally. That's kind of roughly the general idea as to what I foresee happening for the next couple months or so. But let me know what you think down below. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It does mean a lot. But again, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a great weekend. And we've been nailing the moves on Tesla pretty well recently, so hopefully we can continue doing that. But other than that, yeah, that's about it for this video. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I think will happen. And hopefully you find it helpful. So until Monday, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.